sukungishosha lentando yakho abangaboni sebeyobona mina ngeke ngikwazi ukufakazela omunye umuntu kodwa ithando lakho mina ngizotshela bane nangulo mlilo lilo 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 nomlilo lilo 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 nomlilo lilo 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 nomlilo lilo lilo wo haya somlilo namalanga bavutha umlilo nangulo mlilo bavutha umlilo namalanga bavutha umlilo nangulo mlilo wavutha umlilo namalanga wavutha umlilo nangulo mlilo wavutha umlilo namalanga wavutha umlilo nangulo mlilo lilo 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 nomlilo lilo 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 nomlilo lilo 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 hayi lo mlilo. Dala ngibona ngiphila kanje ngibona ngiphila kanje kungenxa yothando lwakhe mehlo wami afolewe ndlebe zami zimamele lomo wami uthetha naye kuye yedwa kudala ngibona ngiphila kanje ngibona ngiphila kanje kungenxa yothando lwakhe mehlo wami afolewe ndlebe zami zimamele lomo wami uthetha naye kuye yedwa wavutha umlilo namalangabe wavutha umlilo nangulo mlilo 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 lilo 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 nomlilo lilo 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 nomlilo lilo 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 nomlilo lilo lilo wo haya thando lwakho talimili ngisukumishosha lentando yakho abangaboni sebeyobona mina ngeke ngikwazi ukufakazela omunye umuntu kodwa ithando lakho mina ngizotshela bane thando lwakho talimili ngisukumishosha lentando yakho abangaboni sebeyobona mina ngeke ngikwazi ukufakazela omunye umuntu kodwa ithando lakho mina ngizotshela bane nangulo mlilo lilo 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 nomlilo lilo 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 nomlilo lilo 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 nomlilo lilo lilo wo haya somlilo namalanga wavutha umlilo nangulo mlilo wavutha umlilo namalanga wavutha umlilo nangulo mlilo wavutha umlilo nangulo mlilo lilo 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 umlilo lilo 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 umlilo lilo 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 hayi umlilo. Umlilo namalangabe wavutha umlilo nangulo mlilo wavutha umlilo namalangabe wavutha umlilo nangulo mlilo wavutha umlilo namalangabe wavutha umlilo nangulo mlilo wavutha umlilo namalangabe wavutha umlilo wavutha umlilo sukumishosha lentando yakho abangaboni sebeyobona mina ngeke ngikwazi ukufakazela omunye umuntu kodwa ithando lakho mina ngizotshela abane ithando lwakho talimili sukumishosha lentando yakho abangaboni sebeyobona mina ngeke ngikwazi ukufakazela omunye umuntu kodwa ithando lakho mina ngizotshela abane.
Of week 2 of the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. My name is Gerald. I'm a cyber analyst with the National Cybersecurity Center, and I'll be your host for today. Today we have our focus on mobile money fraud and the way forward. Can I see by hands how many of us have come into contact with any of the mobile money scammers, either by text or by call? Okay, so then I think this program is well in line and we can all relate to the topic for today. So today we have important personalities that we need to acknowledge. First we have Madam Edith Mode from Deloitte. We have, thank you. We have Sir Eric Mensah from E-Crime Bureau. We have Mr. Godwin Tamaklo from MTN. And we have Mr. Derek Lai from the National Chamber of Telecommunications, Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications, sorry. And we have Mr. Kofi Boache from the Financial Intelligence Center. We have Mr. Philip Debra from E-Crime Bureau. So, so we're setting the ball rolling with a video remark from the National Cybersecurity Advisor, Dr. Albert Entry Boisiako.
All of you you and welcome to this particular session. Very good morning to all of you and welcome to this particular mobile money fraud workshop. Cybersecurity workshop. It is a mobile money fraud workshop for the public. It is an important discussion from every angle. Most importantly, mobile money remains one of the important developmental initiatives that has happened to this country, especially looking at financial inclusion. If we look at the mobile money interoperability, the data which is coming up even from the central bank, transactions amounting to billions of cedis, and not just only the financial volume, but also looking at the impact. The people everywhere within this country are impacted. It's one of the innovations that has impacted a number of people across all the 16 regions of this country. And I think we should be grateful. However, we have a lot of issues around mobile money transactions. I believe each one of us has some, one way or the other, experience with respect to the fraud that we are experiencing. If I consider data received by the national set of the National Cybersecurity Center, out of more than 500 incidents examined, close to 50% are mobile money related. In other words, there are different kinds of fraud. Let's say procurement fraud or recruitment fraud on the internet. But mobile money comes into play. In other words, criminal actors will always use the mobile money channels to receive their funds through the fraud. And I think we need to do something about it. But it is important to recognize that the mobile money fraud is not one of the highly sophisticated cyber crimes that we know. And based on the analysis conducted on cases, especially regarding the victims' experiences and account that we collected, 75% of mobile money fraud cases can be prevented once subscribers have the right information, awareness, education around transaction safety, essentially. In other words, the perpetrators of mobile money fraud exploit the vulnerabilities of people, lack of their knowledge in terms of how the platform operates, in terms of safety measures like protection of PIN and so on and so forth, using social engineering tricks. So the Ministry of Communication directed the center to focus on awareness creation as part of the Safer Digital Ghana campaign. And the goal here is to engage with the public to ensure that at least we reach out to a huge number of people to share the awareness, the best practices in terms of protecting our mobile money transactions. And once these basic recommendations are made and we employ a bit of common sense and due diligence, I believe we'll be able to minimize the fraud impact that seeks to undermine such an innovation, a transformation, of course, as part of our digital transformation as a country. So I really want to emphasize the need for all of us to engage, especially the public. Thankfully, we have people who have the expertise in terms of their knowledge, the understanding, not only about the mobile money architecture and the dynamics, but also the fraud landscape. And I believe at the end of the day, we can all contribute and ensure that we minimize the achievement of the fraudsters by promoting a safer digital Ghana. Thank you for joining us for this particular session.
I'd like to inform us that we are streaming on all our social media platforms. So we're streaming on YouTube. The account is National Cybersecurity Center Ghana. We're streaming on Facebook as well, Cybersecurity Ghana, and ncsumtv.live. We're also streaming on City TV, Graphic, and yen.com.gh. So kindly share the link with other people to join us, although they're not here. Thank you. So next on the bill, we take a remark from the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications, and we'll invite Mr. Derek Lai to give us the remark.
Thank Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Oh, good morning, everybody. Okay, so my name is Derek. I'm from the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications. And just wanted to share a few remarks from the chamber. We represent the mobile network operators. In relation to this conversation is the electronic money issue, as i.e. the mobile money operators like you know them. So this conversation is one of the key issues that we work together with our members on at the chamber, because mobile money fraud, as we know it or we term it, is of key importance to the industry. And for an industry that has a zero tolerance towards fraud, we believe that this is a very, very interesting topic, and it's at an opportune time, particularly because we are at a time within the industry where we are seeing a lot of spike, a lot of increased usage of mobile financial services and digital platforms. Now, what this means is as we continue to see scale on the service, different business models are opening up, and that means that there's going to be different levels of risk and different levels of exposures across the spectrum. So last week, I think in Uganda, for those of you who monitor a lot of the news, geopolitical news across the world and Africa, Uganda had an experience last week where there was an exposure from a third party, I believe aggregator, in relation to a bank and a telco kind of relationship or an integration. And based on that, I understand that the feedback we're getting following that intrusion was that there was suspension of mobile money service for a couple of days, and there was no money that was lost from the telco side or for those who are mobile money customers. And I'm sharing this experience from Uganda because it's fraud in and of itself is not a market-related activity. It's you monitor it from an international perspective from different markets, because what happens in Uganda can happen here. So you tend to pay attention to some of the experiences that happen across the ecosystems in different markets. But more importantly, we're seeing this level of, particularly in Ghana, our experience is more personal. So usually when you'd engage with customers, you'd get feedback in relation to somebody called me, somebody said that, somebody said this, and asked me to do X or asked me to do Y. Sometimes the challenge has been, you get people who are completely sure, dead sure and convinced that the mobile operators aid the fraud. And so I usually would ask my friends or those who call me, I ask them, but if I have the money, why do I have to call you to take the money that I actually have it in my possession for you? But I have to call you for you to do something for me to be able to steal the money. And then they look at me in a certain way. Then I said, well, that's because that's not the business position. So liability with regards to fraud experiences is not like the operator position or your micro, maybe the normal, you want to move back to the normal SIM card size. So you want to have a SIM swap. But some people are able to, through identity theft, generate information around customers, and then will be able to perform a SIM swap activity on their blind side. So you realize that the fraud has, they work in tandems, because sometimes you need to perform identity theft to move into a SIM swap kind of an activity. So what do we do? I believe that this is what the conversation that we're going to be having today will be looking at, because there's a people side, there's a technology on one hand, and then there's the process. So from the MNO perspective, or basically from where we work, we will do everything, and we can assure customers that we do everything within our remit and within our power to be able to ensure that we protect consumers on a day-to-day basis. So this is through enhancing our systems and working on ensuring secure frameworks on our network. And more importantly, trying as much as possible that intrusion does not happen from our side. But bear in mind that, as like I said, as we continue to grow, we're having conversations around open APIs, exposing network to third-party fintechs and new PSPs as we have it. These are all new levels of risk that we all will have to work together as stakeholders towards ensuring protection. Regulation and policy. Like I say, regulation in Africa in and of itself is very prescriptive. It focuses on preventing the experience from happening. But when the experience happens, then regulation is struggling. So it means that regulation alone cannot deal with the issue of fraud. So we require a lot more of collaboration amongst parties. So if you look at places like Zambia, you're seeing the mobile operators or the industry entering into partnerships with the banks, because today the way the financial ecosystem is, you have a system where now banks are largely interrelated or have their services fused up with the mobile network operators. So you have instances where people can be able to actually generate two-factor authentication requests. Once they're able to perform a SIM swap, or they're able to hack into your system, and they will be able to have access to your bank account details as well. So there's a lot of collaboration that we need to have from stakeholders on a day-to-day basis. But more importantly, I think that from the consumer side, there's a lot of work that needs to happen. And I believe that that's where a lot of the conversation for me, I would like to ask to focus a lot of this conversation, because the consumer in and of themselves have a lot of responsibility to play. I always tell people that I'm on my way here or my daily, as I move around town, nobody stops me and asks me, how much money do you have in your wallet? I'm sure I'm going to look at you in a very funny way, like, why are you asking me that question? But why in heaven's name would somebody call you on phone and have a conversation with you and is able to convince you that your name is Derek Lai? But Derek Lai is, you can easily find my name if you want to. Somebody is able to generate that social engineering process and make you believe them, and will be able to lead you into taking certain decisions that on a day-to-day basis, you having your wallet in your back pocket, you will not take. So there's a lot of responsibility for those of us who are all mobile money customers. If you have a wallet, it's your personal responsibility. So usually we apply the golden rules. We share these golden rules on a daily basis. Do not allow people to transact on your behalf. Do not share your PIN, even if it is your wife or your husband, depending on the relationship, please. Try as much as possible to keep it secret. And then also for those who deal a lot with merchants who walk around, agents, you go into town, I drive around town, somebody will be shouting, me pin 4534. You have a lot of these experiences. So there's a lot of even digital literacy that has to come with the tools that we are exposed to today as customers. You cannot do these things wrongly and then you turn back looking for who to blame when you have actively aided in your own self being defrauded. But before I wrap this up, one of the key areas where I'm also looking at us having a conversation is more on consumer protection. And the fact that even though the consumers have a lot of responsibilities to play, we also as service providers, we also as regulators, policymakers, have a lot of role in ensuring that we can also streamline the process in getting them respite when they have challenges. So I share a typical example of a customer who would send mistakenly 50 CDs from his contact to, let's say, I send it to the gentleman here, maybe Mr. Tamaklo is my friend, but I don't know him. So I make a mistake and I send him the 50 CDs. Now after I send the 50 CDs, I call Mr. Tamaklo. I don't know him as Mr. Tamaklo. I call him, I say, "Sir, I've sent you money." He says, "Oh, get off, I don't know you." Then now I'm struggling. So I now call my operator and say, "Oh, Mr. Tamaklo, I've sent money to this number." The operator says, "Okay, we'll try and see how we can investigate." As they are trying to reach Mr. Tamaklo, they will probably notify you that maybe Mr. Tamaklo is not cooperating. So report to the law enforcement, because the telecom companies or your service provider is not a policeman who can arrest people. So, and we've had instances where I understand a man gave his wife money. They had a fight immediately. The wife left the house. So you called her, block this money. You've given your wife chop money. You are blocking the money. So the operator has a challenge because now he's entering into a domestic fight between a man and his wife. So this is some of the challenges that operators also face. So in this instance, I asked the question. Now I have to go and report at Ghana Police that I have sent 50 CDs to maybe one Mr. Tamaklo. I don't know him, but as the number says Mr. Tamaklo. What's the incentive for me to follow through that 50 Ghana? It can be 100 CDs, it can be 400. I see people leave 400, leave 800, leave 700. And even though it's our mistake, I believe that also service providers, we have also a larger responsibility because our reputation and our industry image is on the line. And when consumers continuously make mistakes because of their choices, they would definitely look for people to blame. So I believe that this conversation today needs to also look at areas in which we can support the process through which we can safeguard the consumers, so that even when they make mistakes, how do we quickly move in to protect also, while we also ensure that we are not exposing ourselves to other legal risks? Because once I block an account when I haven't engaged a person, but somebody said, this person has taken my money, I need to be able to verify, because it could be somebody buying from a supplier and probably left and is asking for me to send the money back to them because it's a mistake. How do I verify that? So I'm also faced with that challenge also as a service provider. But I believe that these conversations are very, very important. We need to have them. And more importantly, we need to strengthen education so that people take the right decisions, use the service, have consumer trust in the services that they use, because digital finance or mobile financial services, as we know, is here to stay and is growing on a day-to-day basis. Thank you very much, and look forward for the discussions.
Thank you. Hello? 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 Thank you very much, Mr. Derek Lai, for the very insightful remark. We'd like to take a remark from our sponsor, E-Crime Bureau. So I'd like to invite Mr. Philip Deborah to give us a remark. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Philip Dankwa-Debra, as Gerald introduced, the head business operations at E-Crime Bureau. I'll present a few things. First of all, I'll speak briefly about what we've been doing with industry stakeholders like MTN, the Judicial Service, JTI, in terms of trying to address some of the issues regarding mobile money fraud. And this has been a very healthy journey. I can date it as far back as 2015, where MTN came on board with our drive to engage industry stakeholders. We've done a lot of work in terms of bringing, certain groups up to speed on some of the threats, within the mobile money space. And I want to acknowledge Mr. Elihini. If we cannot give him a round of applause, he has been a champion of this course. And it's been a very good one with his colleague here, Godwin. I know Godwin is very passionate about this subject. Whenever I hear him on radio and on TV talking about it, you can see how strong he comes on some of these happenings. A few things regarding what E-Crime has done. We engage a lot on cyber threat intelligence, financial crime intelligence. And so within the industry, we do a lot of analysis based on certain happenings. And just yesterday, I was in the office and I got a call on the same issue on mobile money fraud. And this happened to be sort of a USSD transaction where the fraudster will call you and tell you that, okay, go to this merchant, I'm going to send you some money. And he would convince you to activate some USSD, and immediately the merchant's money is transferred. I believe the panelists will do a very good job in trying to analyze some of these scenarios so that we can have a very good way forward on it. But more importantly, if you realize over the past few weeks, we have activated the survey, E-Crime Bureau, on mobile money fraud. The idea behind it is that we want to look at mobile money fraud from how the consumers and then the people who are on the ground, who use the service, are really seeing, are experiencing some of the fraud trends. When we sit, in the comfort of offices, we don't really understand exactly what is happening, and I think we need to really listen to the consumer. So in the coming weeks, we will be publishing the report. A lot of entries have come in, and interesting to note that if we look at what we have gotten so far, if you pick 10 response, we realized that 7 or 8 people have had an experience regarding mobile money fraud. And they've shared very qualitative incidents as to how they get defrauded. And we hope to bring this to bear with our stakeholders, MTN and the other telcos. I'm sure Derek would be interested to know what has come out of that survey. And I'm sure we'll have a very good understanding of how the consumers are really experiencing the mobile money fraud. I'll go to the second part of my presentation, just to highlight a few things regarding what eCrime Bureau has been doing over the years, how we have repurposed cybersecurity. This is a little bit off the subject matter for today, but just for us to appreciate, where the cyber space looks like, how things are panning out, and what organizations and enterprises need to really do to address issues of cybercrime. This is just a snapshot of some reports and outcome of some surveys on the trends. And here I want to just speak on issues of vulnerability. The biggest topic right now in terms of addressing cybercrime issues at the enterprise or company level has to do with vulnerability. So wherever you find yourself, whether you're an IT person or operations person, you have to be concerned about the level of vulnerability. And what we have realized is that most organizations don't know their cybersecurity maturity level. And as often as you do this, you optimize it and increase it, you would be able to know where your risk is or your risk appetite looks like. Now, if you look at the incident, you realize that for firms, organizations, 80% of firms have seen increase in cyber attacks. And this is coming from last year into this year. And these are global statistics. We have seen a lot of ransomware increase, about 150 million ransomware attacks right from last year into this year. And it gives a very great sense of concern as to how organizations are managing their vulnerabilities. And recently, we've been engaging some of industries to help them address some of the issues of vulnerabilities. We are working with some of the mining firms, and we realize that, look, you can't mix up how your operations are and still manage your vulnerabilities. You can't achieve the best out of it. Now, I'll move to the next slide. We talked about the benefits of this vulnerability. Can you move to the next? Or the vulnerability management service. So how do we stay ahead of the criminals? We have to look at a number of things. We have to prioritize and be proactive in terms of our cybersecurity program. Organizations here and organizations listening to us or watching us online need to take very proactive steps in it. Secondly, we have to establish safe and effective personal online security habits. Sometimes we are too much concerned about the enterprise level, we forget about the staff. Even to the extent of their private lives, we have to look at how their responses, within the cyberspace are. We have to keep software and security patches up to date. And it works with what I was talking about in terms of vulnerability management. Sometimes we onboard products, we onboard systems, we open up our technology, but we don't look at how we can scale up our security patches. The second item talks about installing security patches, I've mentioned that already. Configuring security settings for your operating system, internet browser, and security software. And it cuts across all users within the organization. Now, I'll highlight a few, please move to the next slide, benefits that the eCrime Bureau Vulnerability Management Service or Managed Service looks like. Now, we have had a very good experience working on VAPT projects, vulnerability assessment projects, handling investigations. And what we have realized is that for so many organizations, once you do one vulnerability assessment and you get to know your vulnerabilities, you feel like you have identified all. It doesn't end there. You have to go beyond that. You have to explore more on a regular basis to know what new risks are being introduced into your environment. So this vulnerability service is meant to achieve regulatory and technical data protection compliance. We are also looking at this package to optimize security of IT systems on a monthly basis. We are also looking at supporting IT teams. Like I said, we can't mix it up optimizing our operations and also reducing our level of risk. There are two different things, and we have to see them in that direction. Number 4, we're also looking at this vulnerability service to provide assurance to stakeholders and clients. One of the approaches that you can really convince clients that you are doing your best to protect their data, to protect their transactions, is to assure them of some of these things. And as I go on, I'll highlight on some of the certification options that are available to ensure that clients are comfortable with the services that they are enjoying from you. Now, I'll highlight just about the components of the vulnerability management service. We are looking at it in 5 key areas. Vulnerability management is number 1, where we do regular monthly vulnerability scans, where we do, twice in a year, a detailed vulnerability assessment of your environment. We're also looking at the digital forensics aspect. Now, for many vendors, when they come into your organization, they assure you of security. They get you tools, they get you solutions, and they tell you this solution will prevent phishing attacks to do this. What we have realized is that it's not an absolute situation. Sometimes you scale up your IT infrastructure, you introduce certain products, and as often as you do that, you're also introducing vulnerabilities. And some of the times when we see new products, we realize that whatever solution that you have implemented will not be able to address the vulnerability that this new product is introducing to you. So we always make it a point to emphasize that cybersecurity is not 100%. So any vendor that comes to your organization and assures you that this product is going to secure your environment, it's not really the case. Because we've gone in and realized through investigations that some of these products haven't been patched, updates have not been done on the product, and then they are going through a lot of risk. The third item has to do with the cyber threat intelligence, and this is where it interests us very much. Recently, we've rolled out a platform where we are monitoring cyber threats, both locally and globally. So, and one of the reasons, and one of the issues that we have faced in Ghana, really, and I know the Cybersecurity Center have been speaking about this, that we don't share information in Ghana. What we've realized in the banking sector is that an issue happens in Bank A, the next moment, the same trend of attack is, permeating another bank. And the sums of money lost are usually very huge. And so we are trying to initiate this by sharing information, also bearing in mind confidentiality and data protection, so that we don't give out information to destroy the reputation of any establishment. Then we have cybersecurity training. Yes, a lot have been said about training. It's a going thing. Technology keeps changing, and we have to constantly update ourselves. We've rolled out an online training platform. Also, we do a lot of virtual training in terms of instructor-led training. So as COVID has brought us challenges in training, we can still do virtual training and instructor-led to impact your employees. We also have the last bit, which is certification. E-crime has been accredited by the Data Protection Commission, and we are able to do assessment for organizations to access their certification in terms of data protection compliance. We've also done some partnership with a UK firm called Cyber Essentials. What it basically does, especially for small, medium-scale enterprises, is that if you cannot do ISO, which is very expensive and for big enterprises, you can subscribe to Cyber Essentials at a very small fee and still get some level of certification and assurance as to your cybersecurity preparedness. So this is the whole package. It's quite detailed. I wouldn't go too much. I would like to end here, but you can get in touch with E-Crime Bureau. I'll be available anytime. We can speak and then see how best we can support your organization. But you can also check out our website, www.ecrimebureau.com, to get information on these, and we'll be available to speak to you to provide further information on these services. For the panelists, I have my colleague here, Eric Mensah. He has been leading most of our financial crimes and investigations, and also intelligence. I'm sure he will share valuable information regarding the subject that will help policy direction and also awareness creation. So I thank you for your time. Have a very good session, and we'll speak later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hello? Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Philip Dankwa-Debra from E-Crime Bureau. So I would like to acknowledge a few people that joined us later on. I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Elihini from Mobile Money Limited. And I'd also want to acknowledge Mr. Kwame Opong from the Bank of Ghana. I also want to reiterate that we are streaming live on YouTube, that's the National Cybersecurity Center Ghana, on Facebook, Cybersecurity Ghana, ncsam.tv.live, and also on our media partners, City TV, Graphic, yen.com.gh, and Homebase TV. So next on the bill is a health break, so we're taking a break. Then when we return, we have the panel discussion. Thank you very much.
abangaboni sebeyobona mina ngeke ngikwazi ukufakazela omunye umuntu kodwa ithando lakho mina ngizotshela bani ithando lwakho talimile sukuma ishosha lentando yakho abangaboni sebeyobona mina ngeke ngikwazi ukufakazela omunye umuntu kodwa ithando lakho mina ngizotshela bani nangulomlilo lilo 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 nomlilo lilo 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 nomlilo lilo 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 nomlilo lilo lilo wo Ndlebe zami zimamele Noma wami uthetha naye kuye yedwa Kudala ngibona ngiphila kanje Ngibona ngiphila kanje Kungenxa yothando lwakhe Mehlo wami avuliwe Ndlebe zami zimamele Noma wami uthetha naye kuye yedwa Wavutha umlilo namalangabe Wavutha umlilo nangulo mlilo Wavutha umlilo namalangabe Wavutha umlilo nangulo mlilo Wavutha umlilo namalangabe Wavutha umlilo nangulo mlilo Wavutha umlilo namalangabe Wavutha umlilo Wavutha umlilo nangulo mlilo lilo 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 Namlilo lilo 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 Namlilo lilo 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 Namlilo lilo lilo whoa Ooh Namlilo Thando lwakho talimili ngisukuma ishosha lentando yakho abangaboni sebeyobona mina ngeke ngikwazi ukuvakazela omunye umuntu kodwa thando lwakho mina ngizotshela abanye
Within the last 3.5 years of our establishment as a center, we've achieved some significant milestones, including the following. The launch of the Safer Digital Ghana, which was done by the Vice President in 2018. The launch of the Point of Contact for Incident Reporting, which was launched by the Sector Minister, Honorable Eslosu Ekufu, in 2019. The development of the computer emergency response ecosystem, including a setup by the NCA, but also our engagement with the central bank for the financial sector. The revision of Ghana's national cybersecurity policy and strategy, which has been enhanced to the level of international standard. We've also drafted a cybersecurity bill which seeks to regulate the cybersecurity ecosystem of the country and to further consolidate our gains as far as our cybersecurity development is concerned. But most importantly, we've also signed up to 2 international conventions, which we are implementing. These are certain milestones which have also attracted international attention, including the Council of Europe, which has recognized Ghana as a hub for capacity building, ECOWAS Commission, which has then requested Ghana to lead cybersecurity in the sub-region, but also the World Bank, which has further built the confidence in investing in our digital economy. I think we haven't gotten it yet. We're still on a journey, as a matter of fact, but they are critical milestones. The main reason is the fact that we have a strong political commitment to cybersecurity. Take this from me as advisor. I think political commitment has been one of the fundamental successes, determinant that has really brought us this far. But most importantly, I think we've also been privileged to have a champion for cybersecurity in the person of the Minister for Communications, Honorable Eslosu, who has persistently led the fights, led the charge towards improving Ghana's cybersecurity readiness. I think we're grateful for the leadership of the country, but also for the technical working group for their support in getting to where we have gotten to. Let's continue and scale up our digital protection.
The technical working group has been divided into subgroups. We have the criminal justice, defense and intelligence, stakeholder engagement sub-working group, and the CERT, that's the Computer Emergency Response Team sub-working groups. And all these groups have worked assiduously to see the level that we have in cybersecurity as a nation. And outside this country, Ghana is recognized as one of the leading nations when it comes to cybersecurity.
NCA is the telecommunications sector regulator in Ghana. Telecommunications is one of the critical sectors, according to Ghana's National Cybersecurity Strategy and Policy. Now, in the past, there has only been CERT that was established in 2014, but following the efforts by government, several sectors, including telecommunications, have set up cybersecurity teams and sets, of which NCA is one.
Being a member of the National Cyber Technical Working Group has been very profitable, both to my institution, to the group, and also to the National Cybersecurity Center. In this wise, there have been certain occasions where discussions has led us to get people to help my institution. And as I speak, as a part or a member of the criminal justice sector, we were able to negotiate successfully with the FBI, or let's call it legal attaché of the US Embassy, and YOCO, the Ghana Police Service, were equipped with tools to forensically examine digital devices. And as I speak, they have given us computers, they have given us tools, they have also established a lab for us. If it has not been because of the national cybersecurity collaboration, we wouldn't have come this far.
Our contribution is very significant in the sense that when you look at the different areas that the critical national infrastructure falls in, everyone and every entity for that matter uses personal data for different purposes. For collecting data on travelers or employees or citizens one way or the other, people who are doing the right thing, people who are malicious and trying to do the wrong things. All these categories of individuals have rights under the Data Protection Act to be protected.
The mandate for the FIC and the collaboration between the National Cybersecurity Office is one of very deep collaboration, because we at the FIC see cybersecurity and cyber crime as one of the predicate offenses of money laundering and terrorist financing.
The National Communications Authority has supported the National Cybersecurity Center's efforts, which led to the accession of the Budapest Convention by Ghana.
From GCNet's perspective, we've come in as a public-private partner. We've partnered with the National Cybersecurity Secretariat. First, we sponsor the program because we believe that what the Secretariat is doing actually bodes well for the nation. Now, we have to actually understand that the times in which we are now are dangerous times with a lot of cybersecurity threats. There's a lot of ransoms, there are breaches taking place across the globe, and Ghana is no exception. And so the work of the Secretariat, we believe we need to support, because without that support, no international body will have the confidence to come and implement solutions in Ghana.
Within the last 3.5 years of our establishment as a center, we've achieved some significant milestones, including the following. The launch of the Safer Digital Ghana, which was done by the Vice President in 2018. The launch of the Point of Contact for Incident Reporting, which was launched by the Sector Minister, Honorable Esla Osu-Ekufo, in 2019. The development of the Computer Emergency Response ecosystem, including a setup at the NCA, but also our engagement with the Central Bank for the financial sector. The revision of Ghana's National Cybersecurity Policy and Strategy, which has been enhanced to the level of international standard. we've also drafted a cybersecurity bill which seeks to regulate the cybersecurity ecosystem of the country and to further consolidate our gains as far as our cybersecurity development is concerned. But most importantly, we've also signed up to 2 international conventions which we are implementing. These are certain milestones which have also attracted international attention, including the Council of Europe, which has recognized Ghana as a hub for capacity building, ECOWAS Commission, which has then requested Ghana to lead cybersecurity in the sub-region, but also the World Bank, which has further built the confidence in investing in our digital economy. I think we haven't gotten it yet. We're still on a journey, as a matter of fact, but they are critical milestones. The main reason is the fact that we have a strong political commitment to cybersecurity. Take this from me as advisor. I think political commitment has been one of the fundamental successes, determinant that has really brought us this far. But most importantly, I think we've also been privileged to have a champion for cybersecurity in the person of the Minister for Communications, Honorable Esla Ozu, who has persistently led the fights, led the charge towards improving Ghana's cybersecurity readiness. I think we're grateful for the leadership of the country, but also for the technical working group for their support in getting to where we have gotten to. Let's continue and scale up our digital protection.
The technical working group has been divided into subgroups. We have the criminal justice, defense and intelligence, stakeholder engagement sub-working group, and the SET, that's the computer emergency response team sub-working groups. And all these groups have worked assiduously to see the level that we have in cybersecurity as a nation. And outside this country, Ghana is recognized as one of the leading nations when it comes to cybersecurity.
NCA is the telecommunications sector regulator in Ghana. Telecommunications is one of the critical sectors, according to Ghana's national cybersecurity strategy and policy. Now, in the past, there has only been CERGH that was established in 2014, but following the efforts by government, several sectors, including telecommunications, have set up cybersecurity teams and sets, of which NCA is one.
Being a member of the National Cyber Technical Working Group has been very profitable both to my institution, to the group, and also to the National Cybersecurity Center. In this wise, there have been certain occasions where discussions has led us to get people to help my institution. And as I speak, as a part or a member of the criminal justice sector, we were able to negotiate successfully with the FBI, or let's call it legal attaché of the US Embassy, and YOCO, the Ghana Police Service, were equipped with tools to forensically examine digital devices. And as I speak, they have given us computers, they have given us tools, they have also established a lab for us. If it has not been because of the national cybersecurity collaboration, we wouldn't have come this far.
Our contribution is very significant in the sense that when you look at the different areas that the critical national infrastructure falls in, everyone and every entity for that matter uses personal data for different purposes. For collecting data on travelers or employees or citizens one way or the other, people who are doing the right thing, people who are malicious and trying to do the wrong things. All these categories of individuals have rights under the Data Protection Act to be protected.
The mandate for the FIC and the collaboration between the National Cybersecurity Office is one of very deep collaboration, because we at the FIC see cybersecurity and cyber crime as one of the predicate offenses of money laundering and terrorist financing.
The National Communications Authority has supported the National Cybersecurity Center's efforts, which led to the accession of the Budapest Convention by Ghana.
From GCNet's perspective, we've come in as a public-private partner. We've partnered with the National Cybersecurity Secretariat. First, we sponsored the program because we believe that what the Secretariat is doing actually bodes well for the nation. Now, we have to actually understand that the times in which we are now are dangerous times with a lot of cybersecurity threats. There's a lot of ransoms, there are breaches taking place across the globe, and Ghana is no exception. And so the work of the Secretariat, we believe we need to support, because without that support, no international body will have the confidence to come and implement solutions in Ghana.
Within the last 3.5 years of our establishment,
Second session of today's workshop. And for the second section, we have a panel discussion. And the panelists on the panel are Mr. Kwame Opong from Bank of Ghana. We have ACP Dr. Herbert Gustav Jansen from the CID. We have Mr. Godwin Tamaklo from Mobile Money Limited, MTN Ghana. Mr. Eric Kweku-Mensah from E-Crime Bureau. And this panel discussion will be moderated by Madam Edith Mode from Deloitte. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this session. I hope you enjoy yourselves. It's going to be very, very interactive, so please keep your minds here. Thank you for this opportunity. I wish to render the apology of my partner who was unable to attend this session. I hope I'm able to fit in his stead. So, mobile financial services, as we all know, has been a very rapid area of development within the emerging markets now. Research has indicated that globally there's a minimum of 866 million transactions on a daily basis, with as much as $4 million value of transactions going through. This also, unfortunately, breeds fraud for these criminals who want to reap where they haven't sown. This is the main reason why we are going to discuss mobile money fraud and the way forward. So I have with me these experts who are going to deliberate on this topic, and I hope you'd be able to take some of the key things that we are going to say out and then practice and also disseminate some of this information that we have to say. So I'll just give them a minute or two to just give their opening remarks. Thank you.
Hello. Good morning to all of us. Generally, fraud issues have been a very big issue of concern within the financial sector across the world, and mobile financial services is no exception. You know, today when you look into the mobile financial service ecosystem, we have a collection of stakeholders in a kind of a network, and the actions and the inactions of one, causes other effects on the other. So to have a program like this today, and most importantly to discuss such a topic from the perspective of all stakeholders coming together, I believe is very timely. Such that by the time we leave here, we'll come out with some policies and initiatives that will help us enhance the safety of this service, such that the impact that the service have had on Ghanaians over the past decade, the service will continue to deliver same positive impact in the coming years. So I'm very happy to be here to discuss this topic, most especially with this distinguished panel of members that I know have been talking about this over the years. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I am Eric, and I am Technical Operations, E-Crime. Now, what? Hello? Hello? Good. From where I sit, we've had a lot of issues in terms of mobile money. And when I heard that at this time, there's going to be a discussion with stakeholders to look at how best to forge forward to mitigate this menace that has confronted us, I was so happy. And I know that by the end of this session, we would share a lot of experiences. My colleague Philip did mention that we are actually conducting a survey, and it will interest you. There have been a lot of sophistication. The sophistication has gone to another level. Just to throw in something small, one of the epic incidents that I have heard of is to the extent where this social engineering, criminals were able to make somebody borrow money and then transfer to them. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we are talking about. The sophistication in the social engineering. And I believe that by the close of the day, my colleague panelists over here would we will discuss and find the appropriate ways to actually approach this menace that has confronted us.
Good morning, everybody. I'm also very happy to be here. From where I sit, I see lots of things, and just like the moderator said, mobile money has become a platform, a preferred platform for the criminals. One, because it connects to all facets of the financial sector, and it offers them a very bigger platform to get money. And one other thing that sometimes we talk about, we really do not talk about, is that it is one area that has become the preferred platform for illicit financial flows. And that is why I am particularly happy that all the players, we are here to discuss the way forward. From our statistics, year on year, we've seen an increase in the number of cases. Particularly, I look at how much we are losing as a country. And I think so far, the highest that we've seen is 2018, where we, in total, we recorded about $93,000 plus as money that has been lost to the criminals from the reports that we received. Last year, there was some significant decrease, and unfortunately, this year, as at June, we had recorded about $49,000 that has gone to these criminals just from the CID headquarters alone. So it is worth discussing, and then one, to find out what the reasons are. Why are we losing such huge amounts, and particularly from just our statistics at the CID headquarters alone? I'm not just talking about the whole Ghana Police Service. So it is something that I believe that it's worth discussing, and we find solutions to it. I will pause for now, and as we move on, maybe if there are any other things that we need to bring on board, I will bring on.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kwame Opong, Head of FinTech and Innovation at Bank of Ghana. We're responsible for an oversight for the mobile money industry, as well as the payment service providers. This is a very important conversation for us, particularly because we've all seen the journey of mobile money and the impacts it has made on our society. The big question is, how do we balance the risk, particularly such as in mobile money fraud, with the benefits that we derive from it? The challenge of mobile money fraud is that often it neither benefits the customer, does not benefit the service provider, or anybody else but the criminals. And the problem with mobile money fraud, and this is why my role here today is really to listen as much as possible and to see what's really happening and to get as much feedback from stakeholders. Because there's a demand and supply problem. It's happening on the consumer side, where sometimes they are victims, but sometimes they are willing victims who seem to let themselves be taken into greed. That's a consumer education problem. And then you have something that could happen on the supply side as well, on the side of a service provider. So these are trends that are happening not just in Ghana, but it's happening globally and particularly regionally, because the mobile money phenomenon is much more popular in sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia and mostly developing and middle-income economies. So the real goal is, how do we make sure we put in the right measures? How do we see, it feels like you take 10 steps forward and then you get a call from the tree department, right? Everyone has experienced one of those annoying calls. How do we make sure we address this? And I think today the goal will be for us to be able to all come around some consensus as to the types of activities and actions that we need to take in order for us to curb this menace. So thank you very much. I look forward to an interesting discussion.
Hello. Thank you, my panelists. We all have had one experience or the other with these fraudsters. Somebody will call you, hello, mpacho, me transfer scam mobina or number, I'm mixing me kakra. Into me pacho sa transfer mommy. We've all had these calls coming through. So we just want to find out what are some of the trends these fraudsters are using now. Godwin, if you can answer that for us. What are the emerging trends of fraud that these fraudsters are using?
Yeah, so it all started with the vision and the smishing type of fraud. And to break it down, the calls, to people.
Yes.
And then the text message to people telling them basically that they have wrongly transferred funds into their wallets. And then some other conversation goes on, specifically touching on some emotional issues, and then as it is, people end up, transferring the money willingly, to the fraudster. But as time goes on, it keeps changing not the type, but then how it's being done. So today, as we are all involved in trying to experience the convenience of buying something on net, from the internet space,
yes.
They've pushed it there too. So we have business camps, where people have set up businesses on Facebook, and they say they are distributors of Coca-Cola, distributors of Samsung, distributors of this and that. And then you want to buy something from them, you end up paying the money to an individual. And then thinking that they will deliver the product maybe in a day or two time, and that doesn't happen. We've had institutional recruitment, fake news, where people will say the police is recruiting people, so pay to this number and, you will get the job. There will have Ponzi schemes over the period. So that is about business scams. And one that is very prevalent is the auction sale. So they've cloned some businesses' website and added some tabs where you can go to auction for or bid for nice vehicles. 2018, 2017, 2016 Land Cruiser is going for about just 60,000 Ghana cedis. And they ask you to pay some and then come to point A for the papers to be, completed, and then later you get the car, and at the end of the day you end up in a cemetery. So that is also there. Then you have the emotional scam we call the extortion, that fake kidnapping news, sextortion. You have pictures of someone and then trying to blackmail the person. That is also available. And then the most dominant one is the fake SMSs and the calls with promotions. This service provider is doing this promotion, you've won this, and we are calling from this service provider's place, do this and do that. That is currently the trend. But in all, the news or the information is just the same thing. Calling and trying to coerce you to take an action in transferring your funds to somebody else that you don't know. Basically, that's it.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Eric, so you being with eCrime and having experience with a lot of these companies, what are some of the policies that are in place now for easy detection of these scammers, these frauds that are taking place?
Thank you, Edith. I would like to put this into perspective here. Before we even talk about the policies, we have to look at the vulnerability areas.
Good.
Because it is based on the vulnerabilities that the criminals thrive.
Absolutely.
So there are key vulnerabilities within the system which must be addressed. Okay. I know my colleagues, when they came here, they spoke about social engineering being the key thing. One of the key things or key vulnerability that the criminals prey on is the lack of security consciousness. A lot of the consumers, especially the subscriber at the downside, don't know the schemes that are going on. And I know that my colleague Godwin, MTN, have actually brought out some hashtags and some promotions, don't be a mugu and the rest.
Yeah.
That is to actually conscientize people
Yeah.
on how to protect themselves. Another key vulnerability is the SIM registration issues. Because I know you mentioned that how to even apprehend them.
Yes.
When someone perpetrates fraud and you are not able to link the fraud to the person, how then do you go and arrest the person? So these are the key things. Then we come and look at the preventive and then the detective protocols or controls. And I will first talk about the preventive, because when you look at the vulnerabilities, be it the social engineering that the guys are using, the SIM registration issues, even training of institutions. Because aside the consumer, that is the subscriber, we have institutions, be it the financial institutions, who also do this mobile money transactions. Okay. So, one, in terms of the preventive, there have to be the increased awareness. And then also controlling of access rights. Because I know there are issues out there when there's mobile money fraud. People say, oh, the telcos are involved and there's an insider there and this and that.
That's not true.
That is not true. So the main thing is that we have to, as institutions, we will have to ensure that there is that segregation of jobs so that we can be able to prevent even such things from even happening. Okay.
Right.
And then also we look at even the monitoring. That is the detective. My colleague, doctor, mentioned that money laundering.
Yes.
There must be systems in place to even flag transactions that are not genuine. So these are some of the preventive and then detective protocols that we have. And then from there, we will look at how to even apprehend these criminals. So policies and then regulations, and I know that we will talk about regulations as time goes on, should be tailored to address these specific things. And then we will have an environment where mobile money fraud will actually be mitigated. It can be brought down to 0% because fraud has been with us since. So certainly the aim here is to actually mitigate the fraud. We all heard about the Ugandan case.
Yes.
Which was something, when I saw it, I was like, wow, because we actually were doing some analysis on some of the vulnerabilities that might be exploited from the third party point. Because you know that nowadays we have the push and pull where you transact, withdraw money from your bank account onto mobile money wallet. There's a system that sits in between. It's either provided by a third party or in-house, the financial institution, they develop their own softwares to interface between the bank software and then the subscriber. So now, it is very important that we put in policies to control and also monitor what these third parties are doing. Else, something that has what happened in Uganda could, I'm saying could, happen in Ghana if these things are not taken into serious consideration.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So the key thing here is awareness, awareness, awareness. We all need to be aware and educate ourselves that
these scammers will not be able to come and tell you stories, and then you just go in and then send them all your money. We should also advise or recommend to the MNOs and then the stakeholders to ensure that their internal controls are working effectively, because that's the only way we'll be able to mitigate the vulnerabilities that are currently in place. Thank you very much. From the fintech perspective, Kwame, do you have anything to add on?
I'm not sure if by fintech you mean the industry in general, or
industry in general.
Because
yes.
I think maybe from the Bank of Ghana perspective as a regulator
Absolutely.
for mobile money and some of these fintechs that had been alluded to, I think the issue we continue to see, and I like the point made about regulation. One of the key actions we took is that we updated the law in Ghana for payments to go beyond EMI, the Electronic Money Issuing Guideline, which existed, we published in 2015, to a Payment Systems and Services Act, which now identifies, regularizes, licenses and supervises fintech. So these third parties who often sit in the middle of, let's say, an MTN and a bank, Mobile Money Limited and a bank, these kinds of entities, you're licensing them. Now, as part of that licensing process, you're taking them through certain legal governance, risk management requirements, and technology requirements, which has a heavy emphasis on security. And so to actually get your license, there are certain standards you have to adhere to, right? So you look at the enhanced license categories, and I encourage everyone to go on our website. And our notices, you see a licensing application pack. And we've actually detailed these things out. So if you bring your applications, and for instance, as a payment service provider, you can't even integrate unless you are an enhanced payment service provider. You can't integrate directly to, let's say, a GIPS, right? Because there are certain security and technology requirements that we've introduced there, PCI DSS compliance, ISO certification, and all these things. In addition to that, I think those who've gone through the process will tell you, we have a rigorous process of assessing the level of your security readiness. We're assessing the level of your technology. Is it sufficient? Because social engineering is a problem that you have to deal with education, and the customer plays a significant role in stopping and mitigating it. But when it comes to the systems, you have a certain measure of ability to at least ward off and mitigate the obvious things. And so from our perspective, and as we continue to regulate the sector, we always ensure and will continue to evolve our policy and regulation to ensure that we're capturing some of these things. And so I know sometimes it can be a frustration for some fintechs and payments and mobile money operators when we update certain requirements, but it's important.
It is.
We do these things to ensure that we're mitigating certain risks. But I think the broader issue is that the reason why we do this is any kind of financial service is built on trust. And if consumers do not get the trust or have the trust that we need them to have in this sector, it is done. And so protecting that space is very important. Protecting consumers is very important. So from a licensing of a supervision of a PSP, these payment service providers, fintechs, and whatever terminologies used to describe them, for us, it's an evolving process. And we're monitoring industry best practices, not just in Ghana, not just in the sub-region, but globally. And that's why we continue to coordinate with the different stakeholders to make sure that we're on top of these things, and whenever updates need to be introduced, we always embark on them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kwame. Godwin, so as a rep of the mobile network operators, what are some of the risks that management face with regards to fraud?
In my initial remarks, I indicated that fraud, is a huge concern, and it comes with its own effects. So, one, Kwame just made mention of trust.
Yes.
Issues with finance is all about trust, that the customer knows when I put this money there with you, tomorrow when I come and I need it, I'll get it. So, for that person not being able to access that money he's entrusted into your hands, that's a whole risk. So financial risk is one that we face. Not only the customer losing the funds he has on his wallet, but also the businesses involved, the stakeholders involved in one way or the other also loses something.
Yeah.
Then you come to the reputation, you know. So once the customer loses the trust in the brand, the trust in this particular organization, it's just one word. I don't want to use this service anymore because of ABC, and it goes like bushfire. Yes. You know, so you start, you know, having a negative, you know, brand reputation.
Yeah.
Then again, operationally, you would have, you know, certain risks also around what you do, you know, to ensure that you bring this service to the doorstep of this customer. So generally, these are some of the risks that, you know, we face within our space. And for that reason, it is good that at this point in time, we stop working in silos. You know, as I said in my initial comment, that we are a network of people, and the work that one does, in one way or the other, affects positively or negatively the other person. And so we now have to come together and be working together to face this issue, you know, of fraud. If something happens in your space for a reason, you should be open to share with other stakeholders so that they can also put in measures to protect themselves for that repeating elsewhere. Because once they hit one area and they can hit the other area, then we'll continue like this. But when we make it difficult for them to win, then we'll be on the winning side. So it's very important that today or going forward, we start working together as a team than working in silos.
That brings me to my next question. With the institution of the interoperability, how are you and the other network operators trying to handle these risks that have doubled because of interoperability?
It's unfortunate. I mean, we are still playing, although we have gaps in between, that is ensuring the smooth flow of transactions between one telco and the other. You still have an issue where, you know, it is an MTN fraud case, you know, and it is the other side fraud case. It is this person's fraud case. But then if we will be more proactive, you know, because today, what they would do is he calls you with a Vodafone number, right? Registered as 0244, an MTN number. But then he buys it and then he ports to Vodafone. When he calls you, you see the number coming through and you think it's an MTN number. So your focus will be on MTN, so that you report. But then once he's able to defraud you through the interoperability, he can move the money across to the other network. So you will call MTN and you say, the person called me with 0244 123456. You know, and you are expecting MTN to react and do something for you. Unfortunately, because that number is being ported, then we have to depend on the other, you know, network to help us salvage the funds or block the account, and then engage them together and see how best we can work in arresting whoever is involved. And that's where the disconnection, you know, comes in. The response time from one area to the other becomes a bit difficult. So again, it's an appeal that we as players within the space should just shun away from thinking that it is one person's problem. And sometimes it's so unfortunate that we use that case to rather project our brand, you know, than the other person's brand. You know, so it will come and it will hit all of us. So if we are able to work together, then we will be able to block, you know, those avenues for them to defraud any of our customers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Doc, it seems that these fraudsters are always, should I say, one step ahead of the game. When you try to block this avenue, they come up with a new avenue to extort money. As from the security perspective, what can be done? What do you think can be done to improve or to ensure that they are apprehended?
Let me start from this angle. Let's look at how these crimes are perpetrated. So far, social engineering has always been mentioned.
Yes.
its other variants like phishing and smishing has come in. Maybe let me, for the sake of our audience, let me just say the use of social engineering within text messages and all that. These are, and then now it is moving from that simple social engineering into a very more sophisticated angle, where we are seeing some vulnerabilities being exploited, and we've also even seen some spoofing attacks. What do I mean? For example, there are two entities communicating, the bank and maybe one aggregator communicating, and then somebody is able to intercept and then represent, send messages as if he's the one party. And then as a result, monies are moved. So if you look at the vulnerabilities that we've seen so far, when it comes to social engineering, one of the ways to cure this is education. And that is where we need to intensify a lot more of education. I know the telcos are doing their bit, police is doing their bit, but we should do more because it is happening every day. I mean, sometimes I go for programs at the radio stations and I come back and there's somebody waiting at the station to report. And I ask myself, so what happened to all this week of talking? It means it is not getting to the people. So one thing that I would recommend we do is to have a very big platform where we engage all the stakeholders, where we engage media in particular, a very mass platform where we'll get to the people. Because if it is social engineering, until they get to know that there is something happening, we cannot cure it. So you'll be doing some 2 minutes, playing some jingles on radio, 2 minutes, that person is selling in Agbobloshi. And she's not even hearing you. And it's not just about those ordinary people. You have even police officers getting defrauded. You see, so it is something more, we are supposed to do more than we are doing currently. And when it comes to issues of spoofing, it means there are some vulnerabilities within the system. And the system, remember that the telcos are sitting in the middle, and then they are connecting to the banks, they are connecting to aggregators. Now we have remittance also coming in from all angles because there is money in that arena, and everybody wants to go there. So until we all ensure that all those players coming in are well protected, then we will surely see crimes being perpetrated using the mobile money platform. That is why I started by saying that let us not just look at the scams. The scams are just one small part of it. The Ugandan one should be a wake-up call for us. That it is not just the scams, but then it goes beyond that. And we should look at it seriously. So getting to the criminals. There is bad news for us. Why? For me, as a police officer, my duty is to investigate and arrest the perpetrator. And when you have to investigate, you need to have data at hand that you can investigate. Where is that data? That data is sitting with the telcos and all the other parties within, which I don't even have access to. Meaning that if I need to have access to it, I need to go to the telcos with a court order. And it's a process. Before I get that data and then be able to tell that it is my brother sitting right in front of me, so go arrest him. So it is a whole lot of work. And one thing that I see as the biggest problem that we need to address is a systemic problem. What do I mean by that? In the regular banking, we see if you go to the bank, they take your details, they take your pictures, they even know where you live. Some form of KYC is done. In the telco side, Or let me just, in the mobile platform side, what is the KYC that is done? Apart from what I give them as my identity.
Yeah.
As to whether it is true or not, they don't have any way to verify that it is truly me, or to validate that card that I bring in. Okay. So this is a systemic problem. And you might have people using other identities that are false. And therefore you start pursuing them, you get to somebody else instead of the real perpetrator. So these are all systemic problems. So one cure to this particular menace is the national identification, which has your biometric data. You can't say it is not you. We know where you live. You see, if we go to the Western world, I always say that I was trained in China. In China, even citizens, before you move location, you must inform the local authorities about the fact that you've moved from floor 4 to floor 2. So at every point in time, we know our citizens.
Right.
We know where they are. So but in our system, sometimes even the telcos may not know where the perpetrators are because it's just a SIM. He just discards it and it's over.
It's over.
So we have to really build our systems in such a way that it will make detection very easy.
Yeah.
Until we do that, it is still going to be a talk shop like we are doing now. And trust me, we can't solve them. And I have said it before. If we don't solve now, this mobile money platform has become a very big platform.
Yes.
Where the banks are interested, all other players are interested.
Yeah.
And they are all coming in for their share.
Yes.
So until we make sure that we secure every part of it from the user, from the systems that are being used in this particular transactions, to make sure that they are well protected, we might not be able to achieve more. So as we deliberate, regulation is one.
Yes.
So regulation, Bank of Ghana,
yeah,
make sure that all these things are in place so that it makes my work very easy.
Thank you.
Let me pause for now. I'll continue later.
Thank you so much, Doc. So Kwame, do you have anything to add?
Yes. So I think very important points have been made.
Yes.
And maybe I'll take things back to the initial question you asked, which is that I think interoperability may have doubled the risks. I'm not sure if it doubles the risk, although it elevates it a bit, but it doesn't quite double the risk if you look at how the structure is. And I'll encourage everyone to look at something that Gates Foundation released sometime in 2017, I think, or 2018, called the Level 1 Principles in payments. And the key thing is that you address these risks at the center, especially with fraud. And so actually, it's maybe the flip side. We have a bigger opportunity to address some of these things from the center, particularly as it relates to interoperability. Now, in-network is another matter altogether, and I think those are the things we'll be discussing. But then let me also come back to some important things that Doc has mentioned. It is true. I mean, if you look at several countries, the challenge that we have had in sub-Saharan Africa has been the fact that our ID structures are a bit weak. Nonetheless, these are the same ID structures we're using to do everything. We're coming to school with it, we're going to places with it, we're showing up at banks with it. And so there was a balanced approach to, one, allow financial inclusion, but two, also ensure you're addressing AML risks and KYC issues and whatnot. And that is a tiered KYC structure, which effectively says, for this type of ID, you have access to this type of account that limits you to this type of transactions, this type of wallet balance, and this aggregated monthly transaction limit. What these things do is, one, open up access, because I think we're in a very, we're in an environment where not everybody has access to the utility bills and all the things that are considered bank-level KYC. So one of the challenges we've had with financial access has been the fact that everyone is operating in cash and hiding it under their beds and digging and burying it in all kinds of places, because they don't have access to the type of identity or documentation or documentary requirements to be able to go and set up an account. And so when you look at the existing tiered KYC structure, for instance, to be able to have an enhanced KYC wallet, you have to bring proof of address. And that could be utility bill or something of that nature, equivalent to a bank account. It's KYC. The issue and opportunity that we have in front of us, and I'm very happy that I remember back in 2014, 2015, the advocacy was about we need a national ID or we need a biometric ID. Now there's one going on. Then I saw one, the voter's ID is also biometric. The next challenge for us is how do we make sure these become public infrastructure, utility, so that whether it's verifying to open an account, whether it's verifying consumers to run transactions, accessing them is very easy, so that we can take advantage of it. Because you see, what NIA, for instance, is doing is offering us something. It's a single source of truth. So if I say I'm Kwame Opong, there's 3 or 4 nines verification or confirmation that I am Kwame Opong based on either my irises or my fingerprints. And this is not a lesson just here. It's everywhere. As Doc mentioned, it's in China, it's in Europe. Even India had to do its own Aadhaar, which is financial identity. Nigeria, the reality is, I think MTN, Airtel, Tigo, Vodafone, through its agencies, provide in terms of identity and credential it gives to citizens and non-citizens who are present within this jurisdiction. And so now we have an opportunity for us to collaborate. We're in a much better situation than we may have been in the past. And so that's a perspective from where I look at this. Also to the issue of, I think, maybe to touch on consumer protection as well. The point ACP made was very important because he's making a point about the fact that it feels like we're shouting but no one is hearing. I don't know, I personally have been on a platform where I have ranted about mobile money fraud and how some of these basic things, and then someone from the platform calls me and says, oh, I was lying down and I got a call and the person, and I'm thinking, why, how? So the real question is, how effective or sufficient is the consumer education? And that's a big area for us to relook at. This is a charge to all the supervised entities, donors, third parties, all government agencies, consumer organizations, and the media. Because if you watch very recently, some efforts in the market have at least brought attention to some of these small things that have been happening. Some of these unsophisticated attempts at social engineering, they've become very easy to detect even for the ordinary person, but still increasingly evolving. And so we have to stay ahead of it. So I think the point about education being made is very important. Maybe as Godwin mentioned, you don't take advantage of it because this is a sectoral problem if you're not careful. It is not a I win, you lose. We all win or we all lose. Yes. So this is not an area where you compete. It's an area where you collaborate and coordinate to ensure that we're having a broad, loud, and effective consumer education effort that is reaching the masses beyond Accra. Because we may think these things hit the literates, but the numerates, but semi-literate, and all the different demographic types. No, it affects everyone. There are people who are sufficiently educated, even at the postgraduate level, who are falling victims to this. Yeah. And so it's important that we collaborate and coordinate on doing these things. And as a central bank, we'll continue to either evolve policy or support in ways that we can to make sure that we're driving this. And my last frustration to maybe add is report these issues. It is quite disturbing when, and I've experienced this in a previous life, in different countries where you would notice that customers would not call the operator to report an attempted fraud. But they're happy to pick up the phone and call the radio station to complain about the attempted fraud. Please. Visibility is important. We need to see it, we need to know it, and we need to be able to act on it. The statistics are only valid and only reflective of the reality if you speak up, if you report them. Several USSD numbers and phone numbers have been given, and SMS numbers for you to report these things. It is important that you report them. Yeah. Report them early, report them often, so that even if you may not have been saved, someone else would be saved from losing money. I think it's something that we all should put our efforts together and try and drive. But thank you.
Thank you so much, Kwame. Godwin, do you have anything to add on?
Just to add a little to what Kwame just said, in terms of the education week coming together. And I think when I was coming, I was just thinking through that can we have similar platform being carried away from the capital into the various schools, you know, so it's not only MTN going to engage, you know, but it's being led by, it could be the regulator. You know, there's some sect of our customer base who will take certain things from the regulator or some, you know, institution, high institutions as the Bible.
Yeah.
You know, so the National Communication Authority says this, and that is what they are going to abide with, or the Bank of Ghana says this. So if we have some of these being driven by our regulators, even if it is the stakeholders, you know, sponsoring it, but it's being fronted by the regulator, and we push it away, you know, from these platforms into the schools, into the market, we believe that that will conscientize a lot of people. Because we've been doing this education from our side, MTN, over the years, and we've seen that, look, going to the radio stations and talking is not really getting to the people. And so now it has to be more community-based in their own local dialect. You know, just you engage them and you speak to them. Sometimes you might think he or she understands English language, or he or she understands Twi, although he's been in Accra or Kumasi, but then he or she doesn't. It's only in his or her local dialect that he would appreciate whatever you were saying. And so if we can move this discussion towards the grassroots, being led by either the regulator or some like this forum like this, I believe it will be something that would help.
Excellent, excellent. Eric, do you have anything to add on to?
Yes. Just to buttress the point that we need to report. One journalist asked me a question that if you are defrauded, let's say 300 Ghana cedis, is it worth it going to the police to report and the rest? 300 is nothing. And you know what I told her? I told her, if you are living in a community of 100 people, and everybody, let's say we are all targeted 50 Ghana, let me just leave 300 Ghana cedis, and 50 people are targeted with 50 Ghana cedis. 50 Ghana cedis might be very small, but half of the population of the community have been targeted, and it is a
yes.
No matter the amount, please do well to report. That is why the National Cybersecurity Center have actually set up the what? The COP, the contact points. Call, send an email, send an SMS, so that with an aggregation of what the criminals are doing, you know that fraud happened, and the same modus operandi can be used for A, B, C, D. So if we have a lot of people reporting that somebody calls and say, Mr. New London, you see, you have these things coming, and you realize that almost half of the people who live in the community are facing that particular modus operandi, that trend. Then it will inform stakeholders that, okay, there is a call that always comes, and they say what? Sister Neo, London, what do we do?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter the amount, even it could be a call they give to you. Please, if you have the chance, report. If you are closer to a police station, go and report. If you can call MTN, call MTN. If you can call the National Cybersecurity Center, that call. It will help save somebody. It might be your auntie in the village. And fraud is no respecter of persons. Pardon me. From the illiterate to the, creme de la creme. So we need to report. That is the few thing I'll have to actually. Thank you.
Thank you. So report. So we, as Doc said, we can sit and deliberate for hours. If we don't take action, it's virtually a useless effort. So now let's look at coming up with recommendations to help improve on the current policies that are available. Doc, back to you. What do you think we can do to ensure that we improve upon these policies and procedures we have in place?
The first thing that I would recommend is the KYC that I talked about. This issue of enhanced KYC, if you ask me alone, I would say it's not important for me.
Okay.
If you have the ordinary Ghanaian who is not known to be able to transfer 5,000 Ghana cedis a day, if you multiply it times 1 month, that is a lot of money.
True.
And these criminals, I said right from the beginning, that when it comes to illicit financial flows, currently the preferred platform is the mobile money platform.
Yes.
So if you do enhanced such that everybody's identity, everybody's location must be known. Until we do that, they would use that platform for wherever they are getting their monies from, moving it, making it legitimate, and then that established of the proceeds of crime. So one thing that we need to look at currently is to make sure that we are able to verify the identity, the cards that are brought to us, the telcos should be able to verify them. And that is the beginning of the solution to this problem. Right. You know, if they realize that it is not easy to perpetrate such crimes anymore, they would at least it would reduce. It will reduce in a way. And currently, most of the identities within that database, of course, is based on fake IDs. And that until the only solution is the national ID
card.
Yes. The other solution is some weaknesses in the regulation. All these players are now going into these mobile platforms with systems.
Yeah.
What kind of systems, if, for those who understand IT, if somebody should be able to use spoofing attacks on mobile money platforms, it is not good for us.
Yes.
It means there are weaknesses within our system.
Yeah.
And who is checking that before you get on board, all the system security is up to that level where we expect it to be. So that is why I talk about regulation. So the regulators must ensure that before they join the party, they must ensure that all the necessary protocols that would ensure that level of security that is required is followed.
Yeah.
Until we do that, it will still come back to us. 3 is awareness, massive awareness. Currently, people have ignored the banks and are saving on mobile money.
Especially with the COVID-19.
Well, even before then, COVID-19 has only increased the numbers. But some people are using that platform as a means of savings. And if you can have hundreds of thousands moving on a SIM, and we don't find ways to protect it, we have all these terrorists around. They would find means to use that platform to fund their activities. And that is why we need to make sure. So I've mentioned 3 things. The awareness is key. Fraud, in fact, it's big, but then we need to make sure that we increase the awareness. However that we are going to do it, I am of the view that if we decide that we'll set a day where all radio stations will be talking about, maybe we just set one platform like here, where all radio stations are covering it. At least we'll have massive coverage. And all the ordinary people in no music, nothing, it's just about Momo fraud. We will go very far. And that is one thing that we can do. We look at the national ID, we look at regulation, and I believe we should be fine.
Thank you. Kwame?
Yes, thank you. I also like to re-echo what ACP has mentioned. I think the public education, as mentioned, is very powerful. I also want to agree that an industry standard security requirements for service operators are also very critical. And I think those are things we're currently looking at. And then the issue about transitioning, especially taking advantage of the biometric national IDs. So as it stands today, I think what we've been doing, if you look at the Financial Action Task Force, there are some requirements in there that, to a large extent, from a mobile money perspective, we're in adherence to. The issue is, to what extent can we enhance it based on the prevailing realities? Because I think you look at the mobile money platforms, for instance, you can't put a certain amount on there, right on your wallet. We cap it. But the problem is, when someone registers a SIM with a legitimate person's identity, and the SIM is with another person, that's a problem right there.
Yes.
And I think those are the real challenges. So by the time you're tracking, you're going to the wrong person. And these are some of the challenges that the existing KYC infrastructure provides. So even though we have a tiered KYC structure that has a medium, a low, and a high enhanced KYC structure that has commensurate transaction limits and requirements in terms of identity, as I mentioned, the highest tier is equivalent to the same requirements that you need to get a bank account to even keep up to 50,000. So these things are there. But we think the issue about location ultimately is one thing knowing who a person is, but where are they, right? And so fortunately we have the National Digital Property Addressing System. I'm pretty sure I've mixed something in there. But Ghana puts GPS. I think this is an opportunity for us to take advantage of that infrastructure. That's one. The second thing is most of these electronic money issuers, the DEMIs, the mobile money operators, some of them have parent companies that are telcos, right? So the MTNs, the Airtel, Tigos, and those, and Vodafones. More. It is not they make some provision for some of these, which goes to the point that I think Eric made, which is you can't eliminate it 100%, but you have to be able to mitigate it to the point where it's within not acceptable, but at least some reasonable limits. And so that's the effort that we have to collaborate on. From a regulation standpoint, we continue to look at industry best practices, and Bank of Ghana is always engaged with several international organizations, from World Bank to IFC to all the different experts in the area of payments, emergent payments, financial inclusion, to see what we can learn and also incorporate into our regulation and our guidelines consistently. And so we'll continue to evolve our policies to ensure that we're also lending our support to drive these actions to ensure that the financial sector has and maintains the trust that consumers and stakeholders need from it. Thank you very much.
Doc.
Yes, one more that I think I would want to add is some enhanced collaboration between all stakeholders within that particular sector and then the police. If we are able to, I'm happy that particularly MTN has given this platform where you can report, but then beyond reporting, what's next?
What's next?
Yes, that collaboration with police must be there. And it is, in fact, I must say, I'll talk for MTN because we have that direct collaboration with them, where they identify where the criminals are, and then we collaborate and then effectively do it. But this should go to all the other telcos.
Yes.
So that we can have that kind of collaboration. truth be told, if we depend on police alone to do this particular thing within the mobile money environment, we will not be able to achieve much.
Yeah.
Because the data, as I said, sits with them. And it will take us some time to go get that data.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that they have opened that platform, but they should make sure that all the reports that are coming in, I just pray that they will not be overwhelmed, because surely the chances are that they have to commit a lot more resources into that area. And then, but we are there to collaborate with them. All the other telcos must also do same, so that we can get these people out of the system.
Thank you. Godwin, anything to add on?
I think they've said it all. Again, that is from our side. And this is, we can do it in collaboration with the people we are protecting.
Yes.
There is some kind of responsibility on the subscriber or the customer side. So as we hear it wherever we hear it, the onus is on us to also share with other people. It should be something we discuss day in, day out with friends, with our family members, because, you know, if you lose your funds or somebody loses funds, they might end up coming to you also for some financial support here and there. So it's all on us, while the providers and the organizations do their best to keep us safe. The onus lies on us, the customers, to also do our best in support, just to ensure that we are all safe. I know a lot have been said, and sometimes when we are saying this, it puts some fear in people, and they don't want to even touch the phone or do the transactions again. I want to assure you that a lot is being done from our side to ensure that the service is safe and you can use it as you've been using it. We are spending over $2.5 million to secure a platform, you know, with artificial intelligence and machine learning features that will enhance our monitoring and then detection, you know, activities on our platform. Again, we are working with the telecom chambers to ensure that we make it costly for the fraudsters to initiate any fraud attack, in the sense of trying to even block the phones that they will use, you know, the chips in to do those calls in trying to defraud people. Again, as Dr. Youngson said, we've been working with them, you know, to ensure we arrest. This year we've arrested over 50 people, and plans are in place to ensure that we do publication of who they are, and then push to, you know, for prosecution and here and there. Again, the E-Crime Bureau team had also helped us to engage our judges so that they can, it was just a capacity building workshop, so they can understand the mobile financial service space, such that when cases also comes to them with their own learning and judgment and the law, they'll be able to, you know, help us with all these things. So a lot is being done to ensure that there is security for the service, and so don't be afraid. All we need to is to lift it to another level. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Godwin. Eric.
Hello. Yeah. For me, I will just handle it from two angles. The regulatory point of view. I know Bank of Ghana is doing very well with the 2019 Payment Systems and Services Act that had been brought. And when you look at the GSMA regulatory index, Ghana is up there. That means that we are doing something right in terms of the regulations and the laws. Now, what I would advocate for is the enforcement. It's one thing having the regulation in place, and another thing ensuring that the people who are supposed to comply by the regulation comply by it. And that is my one point that I will have to say. And the second one is about the criminal justice system. Like Godwin just ended. We should be able to arrest some criminals and put them behind bars, so that it is publicized for everybody to know that if I do this, this is the result. And sometimes that is the way to go, so that it will serve as a deterrent to others who are actually planning or, conniving to do some of these things. So it is really key. And the last part, just a bonus, is the education. Education. For me, I've made it a point, anybody I meet, I try to tell them about some fraud. Maybe because I'm within the fraud sector, I handle fraud issues. So it has become part and parcel of me. And I believe that you can also do that. You have a family out there, maybe 5 people around you. Always tell them, and they will also go and tell the other colleagues, this is what is happening. Be on the guard. And as you do that, like a tree, it will actually spread, and for all of us will know the best practices that we ought to do, and then identify these crimes that are targeting us. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Eric. We'll give room for questions. Do we have any questions? You can have mine
then. Mine is not a question, but a form of a recommendation. I'm glad meeting such an insightful, brilliant, panelist, giving us insights into the mobile money fraud sector. Dr. Jansen actually kept mentioning national identification card and all that, which I think is a plus. National identification has reached a point of issuing over 14.6 million cards to the population aging from 15 years and above. So it's high time, I think, the Bank of Ghana tries to enforce the KYC aspect of, the national ID card usage. The Bank of Ghana rep also mentioned the voters ID card. And my issue with trying to use the voters ID card for KYC purposes is that the voters ID card is for a specific purpose, which is for voting. All this while, the national ID cards were not in the system enough for KYC. So it was understandable that the voters ID card was mostly required by financial institutions for onboarding and all other KYC purposes. Now that we have the Ghana card over 14.6 million, I believe it's high time the Bank of Ghana places more emphasis on the usage of the Ghana card for KYC instead of trying to also push the agenda of voters ID card. It is just for voting. It's not for any other transaction apart from voting. So let's ensure that we enforce the usage of the Ghana card. The second issue, there was something was mentioned about allegations of involvement of some insiders in the mobile fraud. I mean, those who manage the infrastructure, some are involved. And the panel, I heard about 2 people, not agreeing with that. In whatever we do, in whatever case, we should know that, yes, we employ and lay off or dismiss staff. The way and manner in which we employ and lay off staff will have an impact, long-term effect on us. What is the debriefing process that such staff go through before you lay them off? If they go off peeved, they are leaving the organization peeved, and they were handling sensitive infrastructure or technology, you must know that they may end up, fighting the system. They have sensitive, technicalities that they can use to fight the system. So let's be mindful of the fact that when we recruit people to such sensitive positions, in the area of managing such, infrastructure, when we are laying them off, we should do proper debriefing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We didn't catch your name and where you are coming from.
I'm Emmanuel Kpakpo Brown from the National Identification Authority.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. What you said is actually true. Disgruntled staff usually have ways and means of trying to enter the organization's network. So it's good for us to have a proper debrief, like he said, and then also ensure that our controls are working. Once the person exits, you need to disable that person's account so that that person is unable to log into the network and cause any harm. Thank you so much, Emmanuel.
Okay, so my name is Joseph. I work with en.com.gh. Just a quick one to buttress what my brother said. I've been doing business with my line for a period until a client sent me money, and the person went to MTN office at Osu to send me money. And just after that money came, there's that mobile money fraud thing we are talking about started happening. And I was like, okay, so what I know is until somebody from MTN office who can tell the exact amount of money in my wallet before that money is coming in, and then the tally can exactly give what the person who creates a message to tell me that I've sent you 1,005 wrongly, and then there's already 2,000, so summing up to 3,500, if you are getting me right. So that buttress the point that insiders at the office are always part of it. There's no way you tell me somebody elsewhere knows that I have 500 cedis in my wallet before 2,000 is coming in to sum up to 2,500. So just like he said, I think people who leave the company on whatever grounds it is, they should be very much of how they need to go about it before they let go of them. They are the people giving the sensitive informations of our account details to the fraudsters. If they are not even part of them, they have people that they are working with or they liaise with to give those informations out.
Okay, I'll let Godwin respond to that.
Thank you. Not to defend anyone, but just to throw some information so you understand. Just like you get up early in the morning and you go to work from 8 to 5, and people even work further to maybe 6, 7, 8 before you close. That is the business of someone as a fraudster. Before they call you, a lot of work has been done on that particular number. So it's not just like immediate call. A lot of work has been done probably in a half day or a whole day. Let me give you just one example. Some will initiate a transaction, that is his work, amongst the group of fraudsters. Will initiate a transaction to do maybe a cash out for you. And normally when you don't have enough money, it will give a feedback that insufficient funds. So he initiates 1,000 insufficient funds. 999 Ghana cedis, 50 pesos, insufficient funds. 999 Ghana cedis, insufficient funds. That is the work somebody is doing on your SIM card or your number before they even call you. Right. So when people think that, oh, when they called me, they were able to guess or tell me some way around the amount that I have. And so it should be somebody internal. This is what happens within that space before it comes to you. Again, the name. If somebody calls me and says, Mr. Godwin Tamaklo, mentioning my name, Godwin Kwame Tamaklo, makes me feel, okay, this guy might know me. So then you lose guard, right? Now, you realize that when you are going through our normal transactions, before you enter your PIN, we show you the name of the person who you are transacting with, so that you, the customer, will be aware of who you are dealing with. So if it's not Mr. Godwin Kwame Tamaklo you are sending the money to, you stop and you don't enter your PIN. So again, that is somebody's work during the day. Will initiate a P2P transaction, get to the last end, he sees the full name, and then he terminates the transaction, and then now initiate the call and mention your name. How did this guy got to know my name? This could be somebody internal who had disclosed my name. Again, we go to a lot of places And when we go, we are asked to write our names and phone numbers, email addresses, and we put all those information there without knowing what they are going to use that information for. There are instances where you buy groundnuts on the street, and the sheet they use to cover the groundnut for you is a list of names and phone numbers with email addresses. Some organization took all those information, left it somewhere. It's with the groundnut seller, and he's just tearing it out and sharing it with other people. So these are the issues within the space. And I can understand when you don't have this information, you would have the notion that there's somebody from inside. But I get what the brother said. We'll take those ones also into consideration and know how we move it going forward.
Thank you. My name is Derek. I work at the chamber. I don't mean to be a party pooper, but I just wanted to say that I hear the comments coming from the gentleman at the back, and it feels more like we are looking for where to put the blame, rather than having a discussion on what we can do together. Because like Kwab said, Ghana, there's no winner in this. We are all winners or we are all losing. So now I think the conversation has also veered into people who are being laid off. I worked at MTN. I left about 10 years ago. I left him there. I left Ellie there. The people who work behind the sensitive areas in mobile money, they are all still there till today, and the service has grown for a decade now. I can't count more than 2 people I know who have even resigned. So that should not even be the focus for discussion, and the debriefing process around it and all that. But let's move away a bit away from even people who have resigned. If they have resigned, with all their sensitive information and all their classified technology, they still have to come and call you to support them. Then that's very weak fraudsters who still require your active support to be able to take your money. So I think that the focus of the conversation really needs to look at what we can do together. I think collaboration is one of the key areas that has been highlighted in this forum. So for me, I think that what can we do? Consumers. There's a conversation around somebody is calling from internal, but I interacting with journalists, they're asking me questions about people giving your information out. No, today right now on my feet, I can generate 20 numbers right now from my head. 0243444255. It's somebody's number. I don't know the person. I can put it in an Excel sheet, play a formula, I'll get 2 million numbers right now in Excel. I start reaching these numbers through inordinate or ordinate means. I'll reach people by all means. So I don't think that MTN steps out in the morning, please, we are selling numbers. One number is 5 CD, come and buy. It doesn't work like that. The business is way bigger than that thought. So I think the focus really needs to look at information, even for Dr. Gustav, who works with the police. Yesterday, I know one police commissioner reached out to me. He wanted information for a location because he said he had found an armed robber and he's engaging with the armed robber and he needs to be able to meet the armed. They want to locate. I told him, I can get you the information, but we need certain things. And he quickly worked around it, got that information. And this is a police commissioner. He went through the process quickly, got the information and brought it. And immediately he was shown the location of the number they were dealing with. So even if the police has to struggle, the police that we say police is our friend, has to struggle to get that information, I don't see how we would go around giving out customers information to people. It's rather, I think a lot of the function or the vulnerability is also, a lot more of it we see it from the consumer side. Because even you are using your phone to visit unsecured websites, you are exposing yourself. There are so many things on a day-to-day basis. You're on social media, you see an app. They said this app will tell you if you're a virgin, you are not a virgin. You quickly log on.
Yeah.
And you want to do it and come and post it so that your friends will see that you're a virgin. So we'll be happy. In some of these apps, through the process, you are asked for data, you are asked your email. Some of them are asked you for your phone numbers. Somebody's having a conference here. It says log in through Bright event, what. You log in, you enter your number. Your number is not a secret. The most important thing is how do you secure your exposure? Because once you are online, you are exposed. So I believe that's the focus of the conversation for me. But even in going forward, one of the things that Mr. Tamaklo mentioned, the operator is doing a lot. He's talking about they're spending about $2.5 million to be able to start employing AI, to be able to start helping them be able to pick up a lot of the fraud issues much faster and quicker than they do. I believe as an industry, one of the areas that we are also working towards is we are trying to see how we can make fraud costly. So that today, fraud costs 1 cedi. And when I say fraud costs 1 cedi, is that if you do fraud and we block your SIM card, how much is the SIM card?
1 cedi.
Good. So now when we block the SIM card, we block the phone. So if you buy an 11 Pro and you conduct fraud, you owe 1 cedi plus 7,000 cedis. So if we start doing this, and then also we're working together with our members, so across board industry, we're trying to put it. We're starting with we are around the governance process, and we are working around signing our own NDAs and all that. Once we scale up, we'll definitely engage with the police, bring in the Bank of Ghana, bring in other stakeholders, so we can see how we can make this an industry benchmark for our market. So that going forward, whatever type of fraud, whether it is mobile money or it's what kind of scam, whatever it is, once your number is picked up, we block your number and we block the phone altogether. So the phone cannot be used, just like you bring some phones into the market and you cannot use it here because it doesn't pick any of the networks here. We'll block it across board. So this is a self-regulation engagement that we are having amongst ourselves to make fraud costly so that we can protect consumers and then also keep the sanctity of the service alive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Derek. I'll take 2 more questions. Oh, you want to respond? Okay. Kwame.
Okay. So maybe let me also add a bit to Mr. Paco Brown, he said. Okay. So the issue about identity is not something Bank of Ghana decides. It is not our mandate to identify and credential Ghanaians. I think NIA, we've seen what the Act says, what creates you, right? So that's clear. But also, see, unlike, you have some environments where there's one ID that is created for you. Your driving credentials and anything else is associated with that ID. That makes it easy. But in this our republic, that's not what it is. There's a national ID and there are functional IDs. So we do not choose or determine which ones can be used for what. Ideally, if the market had just one ID, that's fine. So you have passports, for instance. You're all using passports for financial transactions. Today, passport has enough data. In fact, beyond financial transactions, you're using it for other things as well. The question is, do you prohibit that from being accepted from consumers in terms of their financial activity? That's a bit of a problem. So similarly, when I mention voters ID and all these other biometric identity cards, I think an issue has been raised where the strength and capability of a non-biometric identity system has its limitation. But when you have the opportunity of a biometric identification system, even if you're investigating me and I have a national ID, the Ghana card, if that is also another layer of verification, why not take advantage of it? The second thing is, I think the issue being raised about, and why I made the point about public infrastructure and looking at some of these platforms as exactly that market infrastructure that helps address issues, the national addressing system, identity systems, these need to be ubiquitous. We need to have access to it. We need to be able to, service providers need to be able to verify from it. It's the only way we can get things moving. It's the only way we can solve issues. But we also have to recognize, you mentioned 14 million so far. I'm very happy with I'm personally happy to see how far it's going. And I wish we can cover the whole country in a very short time. It makes my life much easier. I'm sure it makes ACP's life even more, much easier. Because soon, it's much, you can identify people much easily. You can't deny when your fingerprints have been reconciled with a database. There is no denying.
Yeah.
There are not too many of you in the world. It's a unique signature. And so for us, it's not about picking and choosing what. And plus, it's already in the law that Parliament passed. That is already asking consumers that they can use this ID, and that ID. We don't get to choose that.
Yeah.
So it's really a matter of how do we focus on the biometric identities, particularly if this hits 30 million, that's fine, right? So you go, how do you focus? How do you get access? How do you simplify the access so that the MTNs and the payment service providers can all benefit from it? They can leverage it. And those discussions, as you know, are going on in the background. I think I'm not sure if you're part of it, but you should lend your active voice to this to make sure things can move very quickly. But we need to make that happen and make that happen as soon as possible. Because it is very critical, not just to opening up financial services to those who are excluded, but it's also important for combating some of these issues, from money laundering to fraud. So that's just what I'll add to the concern you have there. But point well noted. I think for all that we're hearing, my goal is, as I mentioned earlier, to document them and see how we can also incorporate them into our policy efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Kwame. One more question.
Hello? Yeah. This is a contribution to the discussion. This is Philip, E-Crime Bureau. I like the point the NIA gentleman raised.
Okay.
And we have to understand that in Ghana, we have a people problem.
Yes.
And it's fundamental everywhere. If I should ask this lady right here, what was the vehicle preference in terms of what vehicle would you like to have owned 10 years ago? It will be different from how you see it now. Now you may want to have maybe a Jaguar or something of the sort. So people change. People really change. So with the issue of the insiders, it is not about we covering up or making it look like it is not there. We have to do the right thing. And what is the right thing? The onboarding process. Sometimes we bring people into the organization, and then the normal thing is, oh, go to the CID, they check whether you've committed an offense in the past or you have a criminal record. Doc will agree with me that the database we have, it's only for convicted people.
Yeah.
And in Ghana, when you work in an organization and we've done investigations, people commit offenses, and the easiest thing that supervisors do is that resign and go. So nothing of a criminal action is captured within your employment record. You move to another organization, you go and do this.
Yeah.
Coupled with that, you know, this whole thing about mobile money fraud, it's an orchestrated thing. It's a business for people. And we know that people are being recruited into the organizations to help get information out. And that is the reality of it. So what are we saying? We are saying that do proper mystery shopping. It will help us to flag those who are really giving out information. When you do proper mystery shopping, you know, sometimes you can send some, you know, intelligence people to your branches just to find out how people are operating a mobile money service, whether they are giving out information the right way or they are finding some dubious ways to give out information. Because look, I know for certain that if you go to a branch, there are certain ways that you keep information.
Yeah.
I can connive with somebody, and we've done this a couple of times. You go to maybe a branch, they have the details of the subscribers. When they come, they complete some information. We have intelligently taken pictures on counters. And these people can, you know, connive with external people to take pictures of people's details, and then they'll call. And I also like the point Derek raised about our mobile, you know, device usage practices. When you are setting up Facebook account, we use our phone number, we use our email accounts. The thing is, what we are seeing is that now the attacks are also in the form of people compromising devices. So you are using a digital device, and mostly so now most people use Android devices and all of that to do their mobile money transactions. The trick is that once your phone gets compromised, the criminal can have access to whatever information that is on your phone. How many of us even use antiviruses to detect whether there's a malware on your phone or there's something of the sort? So it's a mix of issues. And we have to look at it one by one and then see how best we can, you know, control the risk from further escalating. So that is a little contribution I wanted to make to this.
Thank you.
I think, my dear, just give me 1 minute, then you come in. The issue is that in every organization, there are insiders.
Yeah.
We should not behave like it is not possible. Let the people know that it is possible. There are insiders everywhere. Within police organization, there are insiders. You see, let's not try to massage the issues. We are doing public education. It is one of we have brands that we want to protect. That is true. But let the people know that these are options, yes. But it doesn't mean that organization is part of that insiders. No. There are people, and we are trying to weed out. Even with police organization, we have bad ones. We let the public know every day. So it is something that insiders are real. Insiders are real. just that it should not be, what is the word? It should not be made look like it is that whole organization. Thank you. That is doing that. So the telco side look at your organizations. You are giving contracts to people, extending privileges to people outside your organization so that you can work well. Are these people known? Do you have controls over them? These are all measures that you need to put in place so that we are sure that whatever they do out there, you can even withdraw their license, or if the issue is criminal in nature, report them to the police so that we can prosecute them. And gradually, we'll weed out all these bad guys. So I think that is what I would want to add. And with reference to what my good friend Derek said, let's start from this issue of devices. I'm very happy about it. Don't let it be on the table. Solve them now. You are the chamber. You have dual telcos, which shouldn't be so, because there should be a central database where we should be able to know that this device is with MTN or with Airtel Tigo or Vodafone. We like things in the pipeline. Let's let them move them out of the pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
Okay, please, my name is Ifya. I want to ask, how tight is our proactive measures towards these things, the security of these things? Because these days, if you pay particular attention, especially during the afternoon hours, if you tune to some of our local stations, you see 3 people sitting at some secluded area, send 200 citizens, it's not coming, what is going on? They'll tell you the system is down. Who is actually checking all these people? Because I'm feeling like it's so easy to get up, put up something, and start doing some money business online. Who is checking all these people?
Okay, this is very timely, actually. Yeah. We recently, I think it was Friday or last Friday, I can't quite tell. Last Friday, so we had observed them. They are very brazen. I mean, it's not just sitting somewhere. They come on television, and they clearly look like fraudsters. There's one particular, I took a whole video of him. He's wearing his winter hat, and they are not just on television. They are on radio. They are on social media. So we did very extensive investigation to identify them, what they do, and all that. So I know when that publication came, it says on money doublers and credit card loaders. It's a variation of these terminologies. But effectively, it's I call them, I send you 200 in 30 minutes. Send 1,000, and then of course, when it gets to a certain point, they bounce with it.
Yeah.
It is illegal. We have issued this, and we will be reporting them to the authorities. But I think one, not approved to be doing what they are doing. It's obviously illegal, but in case you had any doubts, we have confirmed that. They are illegally using the country's payment systems to do what they are doing, because that is not a permissible activity or a function for which to offer these services. You will be conniving. You will be supporting them. This is not healthy for any of us. And for us, our goal is, if you see these things, report to us, but also I think we all need to report to the police on the basis of the fact that we have eliminated the notice that didn't go to an audience that wasn't quite clear what was happening. But this is very important. I think it's just last Friday. Yeah. Notice to money doublers. So you can read through that and share that with
minutes of the CID quarters. I would like to say something to support my boss, Dr. Youngson, about this insider job. I'm an investigator for 18 years.
Okay.
And most of the time, we on the field, we have a lot of frustrations. In the sense that I sent a court order to MTN head office for itemized bill. Called me that, oh yeah, I learned you have sent a court order for my itemized bill. And to interest you to know that within 30 minutes, he has also gone for a court order and served it on the MTN to stop them from giving us the itemized bill. What about that? How are they going to respond to that? This one I go through. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you so much. We'll have our closing remarks. Godwin, any closing remarks?
my first closing remarks will be just to address just to address this issue. You see, if you have experienced something like this, you don't have to keep it. As my brother Derek said, we are working together. And so if for any reason something like this has happened to you, I think that it should be escalated, such that the business will be in a position to deal with it. But if you keep it and then on such forums, it's being raised, it's, I don't know how good it is, but it's better when issues happen as a customer of our service. You face any issue, escalate it. Our channels are there, and trust me, we'll take the needed action in ensuring that it is dealt with. Now to come back to my closing remarks.
Yes.
All right. So, as I indicated earlier, we've said a lot that probably might seem to put fear in you. But just to assure you that the service, it's safe, and all stakeholders are doing what they can to ensure that you enjoy the service as it is. But then the various tips in our speeches, we mentioned a lot of them. Ensure that you know who is calling you. You know that number before you engage that person on discussion around your mobile money wallet. Ensure also that you confirm yourself. If somebody is calling you with any number and says that he works with MTN or whichever service provider, ensure that you have your time. You are not under correct before you take any action. And finally, don't give your phone or your PIN out for people to do transactions for you. We have instances where a mother will send a son or a daughter to do a transaction for him or her. The person will just do a quick loan, get the money, cash it out, and then he pockets the money. At the end of the day, the mother will be seeing some text messages after 1 month, a deduction of that quick loan, and he gets or she gets offended about that. So please ensure that when it comes to your wallet, it is you and you alone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Eric.
Hello? Yeah. I know we've heard a lot today. Oftentimes, people are defrauded. Sometimes, after they are defrauded, but how did it happen? Me, pa. Please, always be security conscious. When you get a text message saying monies have been transferred into your account, please and please verify before you do that. I once had a colleague told me that somebody sent him a message saying monies have been transferred into the account. So he knew perfectly that it was a fraudster. So as soon as he got the call, the criminals will always call after the text message comes in. He got the call and he picked it and said, "Hello, Colleague Bumocho, how may I help you?" Then the criminal said, "Jesus." I said, "Yes." So, anytime you get such messages, or make sure you do your due diligence, verify first. It could be genuine that somebody mistakenly, but these days, such things is very rare. And also, there's something we have seen, and I think that I should share as my closing remark. When you are there and you get a push prompt coming that input your code to authorize a financial transaction, do not do that. Within a couple of weeks now, that is the report we have received. And personally, I've gotten screenshots of such things. So you have not done cash out. The regular process is to cash out before you get a push prompt coming that input your code. But what we have seen is you are there and then push prompt comes out. Make sure you don't input your code or your PIN. Otherwise, the criminal will take your money away. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Doc.
Yeah. I think this particular modus we've also seen, and let me elaborate it a little bit. It's important. I believe they are covering it live and it's going out there.
Yeah.
So it would help some people. What they do is that they'll call you or they'll send you this alert that money has been sent to you. And then somebody would call in pretending to be from the telcos, telling you that we have seen that somebody is trying to an attempt to defraud you. Just make sure that in order to protect you, we will send you a message. Don't let me see your PIN. So it is a push message.
Yeah.
Then you would enter it so that in that case, your account is secured.
Mm.
So that is the message they cut across. So the ordinary person thinking that the person who is calling from MTN or maybe any of the telcos. I use the MTN because, of course, they have the largest share. So then, yes, money. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. That's so just make sure that whenever there is a push message, you don't respond to it. Now to my remarks. What we have seen make the ordinary user very vulnerable is the fact that we are too gullible. What do I mean by that? We believe anything that we are told.
Yeah.
So let us at least do some form of due diligence before we pay. Greed is part of it. Greed. We can't run away from that greed aspect. So don't be too happy about things that it is bringing money and you are too happy about it. So let's look at it. Let us also, in our spare time, at least talk to people who understand the functionality of this mobile money system, so that at least they can tell us how to navigate around. Because sometimes they will tell you do A, do B, do C, and you yourself are giving your money out. It's because you don't understand it. So let us try and then make sure that we get to understand how the system works. One thing, last thing that I would say, NCCE is one partner that we can collaborate with. I believe that they want more work to do. I'm sorry, I'm using it. Please don't just quote me as they don't have work to do. But I mean that, what I mean is they want a lot of work to do. So these are people that can collaborate so that they can help us disseminate some of these pieces of information. Mm. They go to the villages. Yeah. They have these vans where they educate. Let's collaborate with them. The last time at the cybersecurity, same here, we agreed that they are one group that we can use a lot of the time. And currently, I am trying to liaise with them so that we can do a lot more of cybercrime education. So I believe that since we are going to the radio stations, if we can just support them with, they can get the people just for an hour, educate them, and you are sure that it will sink down, and they will also in turn disseminate the information to their mothers, their within their community. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Kwame.
Thank you very much. It's been a very interesting discussion, to say the least, but I think the consensus that I see so far is around certain things like education and the need for more aggressive consumer education and broader consumer education. It also seems we all are in agreement that this is not a zero-sum game, and so it's important that we all work together to address some of these issues. The efforts that the Chamber has mentioned they are undertaking, I like that idea because I think, as mentioned, we need to make fraud expensive. And also, I also agree with Eric. Maybe I'll brand it as the naming and shaming of perpetrators of fraud, so that it is not the trade that individuals would aspire to. Greed, illiteracy, lack of digital awareness, and so many factors account for this. So I think we all must continue to work together to ensure that whatever measures need to be taken, we're taking them. For me, I've taken this opportunity to also get some stakeholder feedback, with which we'll incorporate into our supervision work with the entities. Particularly, maybe let me throw this out there for Godwin. But you know, the issue about people even testing numbers to see what, just querying numbers to see what the full name is and all these things to check balances. I think from a technology standpoint, these things have been there since 99 maybe, where if you're running wildcard searches, in any organization, you can be blocked from being able to proceed. So I think some of these small things, you've already had them in your organizations. I thought you'd actually have mentioned that to them, but these are already practices that exist today, and I think we need to enforce them. We need to make sure that we're pushing it. I keep referring to the fact that this is about trust. Yes. Financial services is always about trust. You lose that trust, you have nothing. And so let's continue to work together. As a central bank, we're open to engage stakeholders on any additional measures that we can use to make sure that the sector is clean and safe and consumers can be included, which is our ultimate objective anyway. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, panelists. Our two key takeaways are what? We should increase our awareness, be aware, have a skeptical mind, inquire more, okay? Then also we should be able to report these criminals, and it's going to deter them. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you had an interesting session. Have a good afternoon.
A very big thank you to our panelists and our moderator. So Madam Edith Mode from Deloitte, Mr. Godwin Tamaklo from MTN, Mobile Money Limited, Mr. Eric Mensah from E-Crime Bureau, ACP Dr. Herbert Gustav Yankson from the CID, and Mr. Kwame Opong from Bank of Ghana. Thank you very much. At this juncture, I would like to increase our awareness or make us aware of the various reporting channels we have for cybercrime and cybersecurity with the National Cybersecurity Center. So in the event you come into contact with some particular incident or you're being defrauded or something of that sort, you can visit we have a reporting form on our website. So you just go to cybersecurity.gov.gh/report. And we also have a mobile app both on the iOS devices and for Android devices, it's NCSE Ghana. Then we have an email, report@cybersecurity.gov.gh. And we have a WhatsApp number, 050-160-3111. And you can call 292 or send a text message to 292. We'll respond to your incidents. Thank you very much and have a good afternoon.